This is your friend M Jaiswal, a practicing chartered accountant. Today I am going to present before you a program on the recent amendments in direct taxes Budget 2024 proposals. Before I get to the real business, I would love to make a brief prologue. This is sort of interface with my viewers. Some of my well-wishers got me acquainted with the power of social media. It's much wider reach to the viewers. To be true, I had some reservations about my ability to adapt to this amazing world, governed by the young generation. But then, contentment instills a sense of stagnation and regression too, and I just hate them. Evolution and growth are the two important features of life on the earth. So after an initial hiccup, I eventually decided to walk through this new terrain with this youth brigade, the Gen Z, and enjoy their warm camaraderie. Now let's quickly rush on to the prime topic of my deliberation. For a better communique, let me segregate the subject into three parts. In the first part, I will deal with the amendments related to TDS and TCS. Second part will be for capital gain matters. And finally, the rest of the topics. Budget 2024 was presented on 23rd of July this year and finally passed with the President assent on 16th of August. My deliberation in this video is going to be a bit lengthy as I am going to make a detailed presentation explaining the section-wise changes made in TDS and TCS provisions. The video would be a bit lengthy and it requires a patient hearing for better understanding. Firstly, the rates of TDS have been rationalized in a number of cases. To start with, TDS rate have been reduced from 5 to 2% in the following cases. 194D to begin with. Payment of insurance commission received by the agent in case of a person other than company. What will be the net effect after the amendment? The threshold limit will stay at Rs 15,000 as it is. Rate of TDS will be, in case of recipient happening to be a resident other than a domestic company, the rate got reduced to 2% from 5% with effect from 1/4/2025. In case of all other assesses, the rate will stay at 10%. The effective date of change will be from 1st of April 2025. The following changes will be effective from 1st of October 2024. Firstly, Section 194DA, Payment in respect of life insurance policy. Basically, this section deals with the amount received on maturity or otherwise of a LIC policy. Let us go for a little bit of detailing. Friends, for a better understanding, let us divide such LIC receipts into two parts. One that is exempt under section 1010D and the other one which is added to our taxable income. It is such taxable part of LIC proceeds that will attract deduction of TDS under section 194DA. The net effect after the amendment would be existing threshold limit will continue to be Rs 1 lakh per financial year. Rate will get reduced from 5 to 2% and the effective date, as I spoken earlier, will be 1st of October 2024. Next, section 194G, Commission etc. on sale of lottery tickets. The net effect after amendment would be existing threshold limit will continue to be Rs 15,000. Rate got reduced from 5% to 2%. Effective date of amendment will be 1st of October 2024. Section 194H, that is payment of commission and brokerage. Applicability of Section 194H, where the deductor is a firm, LLP, company, AOP, BOI, or any other individual or HUF whose turnover exceeds rupees 1 crore in case of a business or rupees 50 lakhs in case of a profession. What would be the net effect after the amendment? Existing threshold limit will continue to be rupees 15,000. Rate got reduced from 5% to 2%. Effective date would be 1st of October 2024. Section 194IB, payment of rent by certain individuals or HUF. Who are they? The individual or HUF other than those whose total sale or gross receipt or turnover exceeds rupees 1 crore in case of a business or rupees 50 lakhs in case of a profession in the immediately preceding financial year. The net effect after amendment would be that the existing threshold limit will continue to be rupees 50,000 rupees per month. I repeat, it would be 50,000 rupees per month. And the amendment rate got reduced from 5% to 2%. Effective date as it is 1st October 2024. Section 194M, payment of certain sums by individuals or HUF other than those who are required to deduct TDS as per the provisions of Section 194C, 194H or Section 194J on payment being made to a resident. What would be the net effect after the amendment? The threshold limit will continue as it is rupees 50 lakhs rupees in a financial year, and the rate got reduced to 2% from 5%. Effective date 1st October 2024. Friends, now let us come down to Section 194O. TDS rate in this case was reduced from 1% to 0.1%. All the above cases, the rate got reduced from 5% to 2%. But this particular case, the rate got reduced from 1% to 0.1%. What is this Section 194O? It is basically TDS on payment of certain sums by e-commerce operator to e-commerce participant. As such, this is applicable in case of e-trade business. What is the summary of existing provision of Section 194O? Section 194O requires an e-commerce operator to deduct TDS at the rate of 1% on the sum exceeding rupees 5 lakh on sales of goods or services or both to an e-commerce participant, not being an individual or HUF, who is a resident through its digital or electronic platform at the time of credit to the account or payment whichever is earlier. What would be the net effect after the amendment? The threshold limit will continue to be rupees 5 lakh in a financial year in case of an individual or HUF. The rate got reduced from 1% to 0.1%. Effective date would be 1st of October 2024. Friends, what is the object behind such reduction in rate? TDS under Section 194Q and Section 206C1H are deducted at the rate of 0.1%. What is Section 194Q? Section 194Q requires a buyer whose turnover exceeds rupees 10 crore in the last year to deduct TDS on purchase exceeding rupees 50 lakhs from a party. And what is Section 206C1H? This section requires a seller whose turnover exceeds rupees 10 crore to collect TCS on sales exceeding rupees 50 lakhs from a party. Section 194 is almost akin to the provisions of aforesaid sections. So, the rate of TDS under section 194O was also reduced to 0.1% to keep it aligned with the said sections. Next is section 194F. This section stands omitted with effect from 1st October 2024. What is section 194F? In brief, it was TDS on payments on repurchase or termination of units under ELSS plan by mutual fund or UTI, and the TDS rate was 20%. Let us now make a quick recap. Have a look to this table. यहाँ पर विभिन्न सेक्शंस के टीडीएस रेट में कटौती की गई है. सेक्शन 194D, 194DA, 194G, 194H, 194IB, 194M के रेट्स को 5% से कम कर 2% कर दिया गया है. सेक्शन 194D के केस में इफेक्टिव डेट 1/4/25 रहेगा. शेष केस में इफेक्टिव डेट 1/10/24 रहेगा. सेक्शन 194O यानी कि ई कॉमर्स बिजनेस पेमेंट्स बाय ई कॉमर्स ऑपरेटेड टू ई कॉमर्स पार्टिसिपेंट के अंतर्गत टीडीएस रेट को 1% से घटाकर 0.1% कर दिया गया है. सेक्शन 194F को 1/10/24 से पूर्ण रूपेण निरस्त कर दिया गया है. सेक्शन 194F has been totally abolished since 1/10/24. Friends, now we will discuss the provisions of a newly introduced section, that is section 194T. Section 194T was incorporated to bring payments made by the firm to its partners under the ambit of TDS. What are these payments? They are basically salary, bonus, commission, remuneration and interest paid to partners or credited to their accounts by a firm. The rate of TDS will be 10%. The threshold limit would be 20,000 rupees per partner per financial year. I make it clear here, the limit of rupees 20,000 will be per annum and not per month. This section would be effective from assessment year 2026-27, that is financial year 25-26. Applicable to payment or credit to the account of the partner, whichever is earlier. So the fact is that the TDS will be deducted even if the payment is not made but provision is made thereto in the books. TDS shall be deducted regardless of the exemption limit available under section 40 small b of the Act to the firm. For a reference, let me explain that a blanket exemption of rupees 3 lakh was available to the firms on such payments being made to the partners, which has now been increased to rupees 6 lakhs rupees in this budget. Finally, friends, a word of caution. With section 194T in place, adjustments for salary and remuneration etc. in the books of the firm only at the fag end, that is at the time of filing of ITR, will now not be possible. इस बजट में सेक्शन 194T के रूप में एक नया सेक्शन इंट्रोड्यूस किया गया है. सेक्शन 194T के अंतर्गत अब किसी भी साझेदारी फर्म द्वारा पार्टनर्स को दिए गए सैलरी, इंटरेस्ट आदि पेमेंट्स पर 10% के टीडीएस की कटौती की जाएगी. यह नियम AY.25-27 से लागू होगा, यानी कि 1/4/25 से. सैलरी, इंटरेस्ट इत्यादि अगर पार्टनर को पे नहीं कर सीधा उसके अकाउंट में क्रेडिट किया जाता है तब भी टीडीएस डिडक्ट किया जाएगा, परंतु पेमेंट पार्टनर के अकाउंट में क्रेडिट करने के वक्त थ्रेशोल्ड लिमिट 20,000 रुपया पर पार्टनर पर ईयर रहेगा. सेक्शन 40 स्मॉल बी के अंतर्गत ₹3 लाख का एग्जम्पशन जो कि अब बढ़कर 6 लाख हो गया है, फर्म को यथारूप प्राप्त होता रहेगा। फिर भी यह एग्जम्पशन टीडीएस की कटौती को प्रभावित नहीं कर सकेगा। और एक बात, अब आईटीआर जमा करते वक्त सैलरी, रिम्यूनरेशन एक्सेट्रा का एडजस्टमेंट संभव नहीं हो सकेगा, क्योंकि टीडीएस के कटौती के पश्चात टीडीएस स्टेटमेंट प्रत्येक क्वार्टर के अंत में ही जमा करना होता है, यानी कि अधिकतम 7 मई तक टीडीएस पे करना ही होगा एवं तदुपरांत टीडीएस रिटर्न भी 31 मई तक दाखिल करना ही होगा। इसके उपरांत किसी प्रकार का एडजस्टमेंट संभव नहीं होगा। संक्षेप में कहें तो अधिकतम 7 मई या फिर 31 मई तक ही बुक्स में सैलरी इत्यादि का एडजस्टमेंट किया जा सकेगा। Now we discuss about an amendment to section 192, that is salary. This amendment was basically made to ease the provisions for claiming credit of TDS or TCS that is collected or deducted under other sections in case of a salaried employee. What exactly is the amendment like? The amendment provides that the employer shall take into account all the TCS and TDS collected or deducted under other sections of the Act by other persons while calculating the TDS on salary under section 192 of his employee. Effective date of the amendment would be 1st of October 2024. The proposed amendment is, though effective from 1st October 2024, yet it will have an impact on the TDS on the salary of the employee for the entire year for this year, that is the financial year 2024-25. Let me explain the thing with the help of an example. X is an employee. His tax calculated on his income works out to rupees 1.8 lakhs. This sum is split into 12 installments so that he will monthly pay TDS on his salary at a rate of 15,000 rupees per month. Now let us presume that he purchased a car worth rupees 30 lakhs. A sum of rupees 30,000 is to be collected as TCS under section 206C 1F by the car dealer from him. With the budget amendment, this annual TDS of rupees 1.8 lakh will now get reduced by the TCS of rupees 30,000 that has been deducted on the car purchase. Therefore, his net TDS liability under section 192 will now be rupees 1.5 lakh instead of rupees 1.8 lakh. Hence, his monthly TDS amount will be rupees 12,500 instead of rupees 15,000. इस बजट के बाद अब सेक्शन 192 के अंतर्गत जो टीडीएस की कटौती की जाती है, उसमें अगर कोई और टीडीएस या टीसीएस किसी और सेक्शन में किसी और द्वारा अगर कटौती की जाती है, उसका एडजस्टमेंट प्राप्त हो सकेगा। फ्रेंड्स, नेक्स्ट वी आर गोइंग टू डिस्कस अबाउट एन अमेंडमेंट इन सेक्शन 194IA. The TDS provisions on sale of immovable property was amended from 1st of October 2024. No, 1st of April 2024. I repeat, this amendment is from 1st April 2024 and not 1st October 2024. What exactly is the amendment? And why is this amendment? Friends, you see, as of now, many purchasers used to make a skewed interpretation of the provisions of this section. As such, they used to consider the threshold limit of rupees 50 lakhs allowed under the Act as per each buyer or each seller in case of a joint ownership property. This amendment has made it clear that regardless of any number of buyers or any number of sellers, in case of a single property sale or purchase, TDS has to be deducted if the sale value as a whole of the property exceeds rupees 50 lakhs. Let us try to understand the whole thing with the help of a few examples. Say X, Y and Z, they want to purchase a house of the value rupees 1.2 crore. The individual share of each buyer is rupees 40 lakhs only. As per the earlier interpretation of section 194 IA, they could avoid TDS on payment made to the transferor as the individual share of each buyer happens to be less than 50 lakh rupees. But with this amendment in place, the transferees, the buyers, shall now be liable to deduct TDS of rupees 1.2 lakh on the entire sum of rupees 1.2 crore at the rate of 1% of the sale value. Now, let us try to understand the whole thing with the help of a second example. Suppose there is only one buyer, Mr. X, but there are three transferors, Mr. A, B and C. The sale value of the property stands at rupees 1.2 crore rupees as it is. Now, if X takes a plea that since the individual share of each transferor is less than rupees 50 lakhs, he is not liable to deduct TDS on the sale value of rupees 1.2 crore. This will not be allowed after the said amendment in place. He will be required to deduct TDS of rupees 1.2 lakh even if the payments are made at the rate of rupees 40 lakhs to each transferor, namely A, B and C, because the individual's value of the house is more than rupees 50 lakhs. That is rupees 1.2 crore in aggregate in the present case. सेक्शन 194 IA के अंतर्गत कटौती की सीमा थ्रेशोल्ड लिमिट 50 लाख होता है। डिडक्टर्स इसका फायदा उठाते थे और जहां पर एक से अधिक बायर या एक से अधिक सेलर हुआ करता था, वहां पर ये 50 लाख की सीमा प्रत्येक बायर या प्रत्येक सेलर के हिसाब से कैलकुलेट किया जाता था, जो कि अब प्राप्त नहीं होगा। नेक्स्ट इज सेक्शन 206C(1)(f). Friends, the scope of this section has been widened to include some other luxury goods too, besides the existing provisions in case of purchase of a motor vehicle. What is the existing provision? The existing section 206C(1)(f) requires a seller of a motor vehicle to collect TCS at the rate of 1% from the buyer if the value of the motor vehicle exceeds rupees 10 lakh at a time on receipt of such sum from the buyer. This provision applies to each such sale individually and not to the aggregate value of sales per year. Let us quickly recap the whole amendments. The scope of TCS under section 206C(1)(f) is now widened by extending it to other luxury goods too. Therefore, now the TCS will be collected on other luxury goods exceeding rupees 10 lakh in value, besides the motor vehicles. Such luxury goods would be notified later on. The rate of TDS will be 1% and the effective date of the amendment will be 1st of Jan 2025. सेक्शन 206C(1)(f) के अंतर्गत 10 लाख के ऊपर किसी भी गाड़ी की परचेज पर 1% का TCS कलेक्ट किया जाता था। अब इसका स्कोप वाइडन करके अदर लग्जरी गुड्स को भी उसके अंतर्गत शामिल कर दिया गया है। इन दिस बजट अ टाइम लिमिट हैज बीन फिक्स्ड for correction of statement of TDS and TCS. this is a new topic. Section 200 and Section 206C 3B are henceforth amended by fixing a time limit of 6 years for correction of TDS and TCS statements respectively. The effective date of amendment will be 1st of Jan 2025, that is from the next year. What are the crux of the amendment? There is no time limit for furnishing correction statements as of now. Hence, such statements may be revised indefinitely for multiple times, thus causing immense difficulty in processing of such returns or statements. Secondly, Section 200 and Section 206C 3B were both amended to provide that no correction is henceforth allowed to the quarterly TDS and TCS statements after the expiry of a period of 6 years. Folks, here I would like to make a recommendation. Provisions of the Act should have been made further stringent. Deductors or collectors of tax ideally now have the liberty to correct the quarterly statements filed by them indefinitely for a number of times and for a longer period of time, but then up to 6 years only. This will be in the interest of the common taxpayer to counter the abuse of provisions of the Act by the Assesse, like the banks and other government and semi-government organizations, who are often found to correct their statements indefinitely for as many times as they wish. Thus, what happens? 26 years figures kept on being revised even after a taxpayer has filed his return. As a result, the normal taxpayer is made to revise his ITRs for no fault of his. Next amendment is made to Section 206C 7. The interest rate in case of late payment of TCS has been increased to 1.5%. The rate of interest in case of late payment of TCS was 1%, while it is 1.5% in case of late payment of TDS. This change was basically done to align the two provisions, two rates, that is the interest rate of TCS with that of TDS for late payment of tax. The position after the amendment will be that now the rate will be 1.5% in both the cases. The effective date would be 1st of April 2025. Next amendment is with regard to credit for minors TCS to parents. What happened? Inclusion of a provision in Section 206C to allow the credit for TCS collected from a minor in the hands of the parent, to ensure that the credit for TCS collected from a minor should be allowed to the parent, which parent, who is responsible for maintenance of the minor. The effective date of the amendment would be 1st of Jan 2025. Friends, a clarification has been given in this budget in respect of the provisions related to Section 194C and Section 194J. This clarification aims at excluding sums paid under Section 194J from the ambit of Section 194C. The effective date of the amendment would be 1st of October 2024. Why is this amendment? Some taxpayers who were otherwise required to deduct TDS at the rate of 10% under Section 194J were at times deducting TDS at the rate of either 1% or 2% under Section 194C. They used to consider the fees for professional and technical services stated under Section 194J as work within the meaning of the term work given in Clause 4 of the explanation of section 194C. This amendment now seeks to clarify the distinction between the term work as defined under section 194C and fees for technical and professional services as defined under section 194J. Friends, now we discuss about an amendment in the budget whereby an attempt has been made to ease the provisions related to penalty and prosecution. Crux of the amendment is that no penalty will henceforth be levied or prosecution will be initiated where the assessee has already paid the TDS or the TCS amount before filing his quarterly statements. For this, suitable amendments have been made in penalty provisions under section 271(s)(3) and the provisions for prosecution under section 276(b). Amendment in section 271(s)(3) shall be effective from 1st of April 2025, while the amendment in section 276(b) shall be effective from 1st of October 2024. Further, there has been an attempt to ease the provisions relating to assessee in default. The amendment aims at reducing the time limit for orders passed for any person deemed to be an assessee in default from 7 years to 6 years, both in the case of TDS as well as TCS, by making suitable amendments to section 201(3) and by inserting a new subsection 7A to section 206C respectively. The effective date of amendment would be 1st of April 2025. Again, the scope of lower rate of TDS and TCS have been extended to section 194Q and section 206C(1)(h) by amending section 197. The effective date of this amendment would be 1st of October 2024. Friends, before I finally round off, I would like to exchange a few words. Why did I get into this podcast? Reasons are manifold. Firstly, I wanted to walk through this new terrain. It's like somebody wanting to swim but is hesitant getting into the water. I too had my reservations, initial hiccups, but then I decided to get into the pool and swim to explore myself, to reinvent myself. Secondly, friends, you see, income tax is such a complex subject. Our legislative minds have made it rather more complex over the years, ambiguous and full of contradictions. My endeavor is to explain the nitty-gritty of income tax in the simplest way possible. Last but not the least, it may be termed as a philosophical reason, but to me it is more of an emotional reason. It's like Arjun is standing in the battlefield. अर्जुन रणभूमि में खड़ा है, जरा सा समा सा, परंतु कृष्ण उसका उत्साहवर्धन करते हैं एक सखा के रूप में, उसका सारथी बनकर। इस अर्जुन को भी एक कृष्ण रूपी सारथी की आवश्यकता है। क्या आप मेरे सारथी बनेंगे? If yes, then please like, share and subscribe this video. Click the bell icon and be my Krishna. With these words, I wrap up my deliberation. Please follow my next video for capital gain deliberation.